right, so the final part of this little project will be the steel collar and the aluminum clamp that hold the gold parts of this quick disconnect into the wheelbase. So let's do the steel collar first. That's actually about 30 millimeters in diameter. I took a wrong measurement before. So we know it clamps around this part of the main shaft, and this part of that shaft is, I believe, 30 millimeters. It's 22 millimeters. Okay. So let's create a new component. All right. Call it collar. Activate it. And let's do a sketch here. .22 millimeters ID and 30 millimeters OD. And there's a little cutout in it. You can see there. Well, it allows the clamp to clamp down on it. So let's just we can do an arc. Oh, what happened there? I don't know why that is not taking. Let's do 2 lines. How about that? Okay. Let's extrude this guy, and we'll extrude it all the way to those threads. Alright, that looks good. Alright. Hide that sketch, and that collar is created. Now the next thing we want to create is, the collar's created, we'll want to create the clamp next. So, create a new component. Now that guy is, I think it's almost exactly 60 millimeter OD. These dimensions are a little bit off. 60 millimeter OD and 14 millimeter deep. We can do a sketch on this plane. .60 millimeter OD. And the ID will be, was it 30? Yeah, same as the OD of the collar there. All right, and as you can see on this clamp, it's 2 half clamps with a nut or with a bolt on each side that are pulling them both together. So I'm gonna model half of one, and then we'll mirror it and flip the other side. So let's cut this guy in half. Trim the bits we do not need. Close off that sketch there. And it was how thick? It was 14 millimeters thick. Okay, that looks pretty good. Move this back just a touch. As you can see, they're not going to be actually touching. Otherwise, they wouldn't do much clamping if they touched. So that looks good. Now I'm going to need to go to McMaster-Carr and insert one of those screws. I don't exactly know what material it's made out of, but I know it's a socket head screw. We'll just say alloy steel. I know it's an M6. I think it was 20 millimeters long. Okay, there we go. Click on the CAD model page, product detail rather. Scroll to the bottom. Save it as a 3D step, and it will import as a new component into our design. Okay. We don't have to have it in its final resting place right now, but we can see it looks to be about the right size. Yeah, I think that was correct. I think it was an M6 by 20. All right, so end goal is we want one side of the collar. You can see the collar is the same piece, just flipped. So we've got a hole for the head of the bolt on one side, and on the other side we've got a threaded hole for the bolt to thread into. So let's see the diameter. Oops, save this position here. The diameter of the head of this guy is 10 millimeters. So I assume we're going to want about an 11 millimeter hole for it to sit into. So let's do. Let's look at the origin here. Let's hide all this other junk. I'm going to do an offset face to do that sketch on. All right, offset plane. Send it up here. That's high enough. Okay. Do a sketch. Hit P for project sketch. And grab the outside dimensions of the part. Now we can do a construction line down 45 degrees. And another construction line 45 degrees. There we go. All right, so I did those construction lines, so I can perfectly center a center diameter circle here, 12 millimeters in diameter. And we're going to do an extrude on that and send it down most of the way through, but not all the way. Okay, I want to go back in and edit that sketch. And the threading of this bolt was 6 millimeters. So we can just do a 6.5 millimeter circle there and extrude that down through the part as well. So you can see the bolt will quite happily fit into that little opening there. Now on the other side, we want to do a 6 millimeter hole centered along the edge here. So we're going to go back into that sketch, edit it, make some more construction lines. 45 degrees. Okay. degrees. And a center diameter circle here, say exactly 6 millimeters. And extrude that. Oops. Sorry. That circle I made was a construction, set as a construction circle and not an actual sketch feature. I'll just redo it. There we go. All right, so extrude it all the way through. Go ahead and create our threading. Hide that sketch though, hide the other sketch. Click on the inside face of that hole. Say we want it modeled. It was 6 millimeter by, I don't recall the thread pitch. I think it was just 1. Shame on me, I don't recall. Of course, we could pull this part up though. Let's do that. It was an M6 screw, 20 millimeters, and it was their first option. There we go. Ah, 0.75 millimeter thread pitch. So we can go into our timeline here, edit this threading, 0.75 thread pitch. That looks more right. You can see there's a little slop there, but I'm not going to worry about that. Alrighty. Now I'm going to mirror this body along the y-axis here. Forget where mirror, yeah, there we go. Mirror, gonna mirror bodies. Mirror plane is the y-axis. Okay, there we go. Select body priority, select that body, rotate it. Ah, come on. There we go. All right, now you can see we'll move the screw. Into place. That looks really good. Go into that screw component. Copy and paste that body so we can make a second one. Rotate it. And we'll just move it over into place here manually. All right. That all looks pretty good. I think we're pretty close to done with this project. Let's show all of the parts. Activate the main father components, parent component. Let's see, the clamp needs to move up a little further. All right, great. So I created these textures, appearances already when I modeled this part in the first place. Yeah, there we go, there we go. Well, the screws, since they imported from McMaster-Carr, I think they just default to steel. We'll just leave that. This collar is actually steel, so we leave that. That all looks pretty good. Let's hop into the render viewport. Yeah, so that looks pretty good. I will save this entire project and I'll attach it to the description in the YouTube video, and you can load it into Fusion, play around with it, and have some fun. I hope you learned something, and I don't know what I'll do next. Maybe I'll start a video series on how I made my F1 rig over here. But I don't know what I'll do next. Maybe I'll take a suggestion from one of you guys. So have a good night. Peace.